Welcome to the WeaponRefine analysis for Merric, YTiki, and Tiki, and Linde. So today's episode of WeaponRefine analysis, we have these three beautiful characters from Mark's game, Shadow Dragon Mystery Emblem or New Mystery of the Emblem. They have some pretty good insights that I want to talk about. As many of you know already, I have personally been using Merric for a very long time, and I do have a showcase of him on the channel if you want to find that. I personally have really enjoyed using him with a minus attack IV and plus defense, but I decided to change it over to a plus attack IV with minus res just for the Excalibur buff. And we were actually talking and discussing a lot of this before, but he is going to successfully counter fires now. Not only because of the cooldown reduction, but because with this bond effect, he's going to have 35 attack, which isn't that difficult to set up with a magic or staff ally within 2 spaces. The extra cooldown reduction only increases his power. So obviously, I'm going to be refining best mage green Merric here. Yeah, I mean, 53 attack with the Excalibur effect and any sort of support makes him extremely powerful now with plus attack IVs. So I think what really needs to be said here is that Merric can be used pretty easily on the enemy phase and on the player phase because of the positional requirements not being restricted to a unit being adjacent to him. This is likely one of the most powerful ones as well, because with cooldown reduction, you can get off some really strong nukes that most other mages cannot do. So, of course, Merric can run things like a 3-charge Ignis here, and his defense is already very good. So, you know, 31 defense is about 24 extra damage from Ignis, which is insanely good, and you'll get it off every 2 engagements by using Desperation. So, of course, 3, 2, 1, and then blow off the Ignis for extremely high damage to secure and break weapon triangles. So 40 speed, of course he has Fury here, but 40 speed, 53 attack here, and you have some really strong potential with Merric. We'll be showcasing a little bit of Merric gameplay in another video, so look forward to that. I think it's a very welcome buff to him, and I'm very glad he received it. Next up, we do have the Linde's Aura buff. And to be totally honest with you guys, this seems like the most underwhelming option. It's like Dark Aura, if you actually compare it up here with Dark Aura, but instead of affecting Dragonstone's lances, sword, and axes, basically melee units, this one affects magical and staff allies. So it's like a different type of Dark Aura to buff up your staff users, and then it also has that effect that Merric has. So I would have appreciated this on my Merric, to be totally honest with you guys, because I do use him in a magical and staff team comp, but unfortunately Linde is already a very good powerhouse as it is. Like, her stat spread is really good. She already has very high attack and speed, so for her to buff up her allies is kind of awkward, I'd say. I can appreciate the extra attack and speed though, and I feel like that will help her a lot become even more dangerous than she already is. Do consider though that, she's very hard to merge up and her availability isn't that good. So units like May and Tail2 will outscale her with merges, and therefore I'm not like a big fan of this change, especially when you could be giving Linde Blarblade and she's probably going to be very sufficient on her own. If you really do depend on the team comp buffs and such, then this new aura and you have a bunch of mages or maybe healers on the team, she'll work really well. So not like, it's not bad, but it's not what I expected out of a powerhouse. And finally, we young YTiki's and Tiki's new refine. So there we have it, Breath of Fog. A lot of people predicted that this would be similar to what she receives in her original games, which is Dragon Effectiveness. This is interesting because we don't have any Dragon Effectiveness that is from red and magical damage. So we've had Daedra and Julia with using Naga, and Naga does have that Dragon Effectiveness green magical damage, but we didn't have red. And a lot of the meta dragons like Male Grima and Myr, of course Faye is there as well, really make this much better than Daedra or Julia when it comes to the actual potential not to mention, it works kind of like a falchion because it has a renewal effect. And on top of that, if you do refine this, it gives you attack and defense, extra attack and defense. So units like Adult Tiki and Young Tiki can appreciate that extra attack stat to bump them over 30, 35, depending on the buffs and merges and such. But that's going to make it really easy to one-shot all like both Male Grima, both Mer, because they have lower res and defense, so this is a little bit different than Falchions. I mean, your Falchion would never really miss a kill, but there were numerous cases where Julia or Daedra would miss kills on Mer or Male Grima because they didn't have that color advantage. So I can really appreciate this, and maybe the biggest problem here would be like killing Noe. But the thing is, even Noe has low res, so I feel like Young Tiki and Adult Tiki can definitely kill them as well. Maybe by using quick riposte and maybe like a drive attack or something, and that would probably secure the kills. So I'm very happy with this. It doesn't really matter that you're giving up lightning breath with quick to make this work, because if you use distant counter with Breath of Fog, that's still going to be really good in the lower tiers, like lower tiers arena 700 to 720s. And she's still going to be targeting, you know, Linde and mages and bow users and such that you might encounter there. And you can, of course, strictly counter those when you need to. At the higher tiers arena, you don't even need to use distant counter unless you're going for score, because there's just so much little amount of magical damage or range damage that comes from the higher arena tiers. You're going to have, you know, Zelgius's, Male Grima, like they're all just a bunch of melee units that score really well, so things like distant counter aren't even needed there, and you can just use steady and warding breath and you'll have an easy time. Of course, player phasing with Breath of Fog is much easier and much better than using lightning breath. Of course, there's also 4 extra attack out of Breath of Fog, and there's that renewal effect, so she can actually stay in quick riposte and guard range if you do end up using those things. I think this is a very good refinement as well. Might be the best one here, actually. Along with the fact that Young Tiki can score as much as Effie now with distant counter, if you do end up using her that way. So, definitely. Anyways, I hope that gives you a little bit of insight as to how to use these units. I think these refinements are not as amazing as some of the ones we've had, maybe not as game-breaking as something like Fur receiving Nameless Blade, which I think is still one of the best refinements that could have happened to a unit, to go from totally not so great to amazing. Merric's refinement is really good, and I'm going to be very happy to show it off in a little bit, so definitely look forward to that. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to the next one, guys. Peace.